Heal your gut, help your mind. A recent study published in JAMA Psychiatry found a link between specific bacteria in the gut and mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorders.
This fascinates me. So for today's Mental Wellness Monday, we're joined by Dr. Vincent Pedre. He wrote the book Happy Gut, which goes in depth on this very topic. He's also the medical director of the Pedre Integrative Health in New York. So doctor, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let me get into it because I have anxiety, right? And I have a high stress and I have stomach issues. And I've always wondered if all three are connected in some kind of way. And Marisol knows, she's always like, you gotta get your gut in check for everything else to kind of balance out. So talk to us really between the gut bacteria and mental health and what science really says about the link between the two.
Well, this meta-analysis that was done in JAMA Psychiatry basically showed how specific bacteria in the gut are linked to mental health issues like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. And what they found was that there are certain specific bacteria, I'm going to say some crazy names here, Faecalibacterium and Coprococcus, that are actually linked to an anti-inflammatory effect in the gut. And these bacteria were deficient in people with depression, with anxiety, with bipolar disorder.
So are these naturally in our system, or are we eating something that's contributing to that?
That is something that really needs to be looked into, is this connection between diet and mental health. Because what we're learning here is that mental illness is more than just an imbalance of neurotransmitters, that it's actually rooted in inflammatory processes in the body, especially starting in the gut. So we need to look at the power of the gut-brain connection and really start to redefine how is it that we treat these psychiatric disorders? Because we've got to look at the role of an anti-inflammatory diet. We've got to look at things like psychobiotics, which are probiotics that have been shown to have beneficial psychoactive effects.
But give me examples, right? So you're talking about inflammatory diet, but what are we talking about here? Are you talking about yogurt? Like what are you talking about?
Well, there's certain foods that you want to avoid that are going to be more inflammatory. And the top three I'm going to say here are sweeteners, like artificial sugars, cane sugar. What a lot of people don't realize is artificial sugars actually feed bad bacteria in the gut. Second, probably surprising for a lot of people, but wheat gluten. Gluten increases gut permeability. And when you increase gut permeability, you increase inflammation in the body, and that causes inflammation in the brain. And third, I'm sure people are going to hate me for saying this, but alcohol. Drinking too much alcohol is going to increase the level of bad bugs in the gut, and that's going to cause more inflammation in the body. So excess alcohol intake, especially now during the holidays, is not going to help your mental health.
You just cut out everything that I eat. I mean, artificial sugar, wheat, and alcohol. I mean, that's like my staples, okay?
And it said red meat also? Red meat?
Red meat can be inflammatory depending on where it's sourced from. You know, grass-fed versus factory-raised beef, very different effects on the body because of the different profile of omega-3s. But what do you want to add? What types of foods should we put in?
Yeah.
We want to think about fermented foods like kefir from grass-fed cows, goat milk, or even cashew milk kefir. Sauerkraut, and you want to look for raw, unpasteurized sauerkraut. Because it's rich in probiotic bacteria.
Wow.
And it's going to help increase the diversity of the bacteria in the gut. And that helps improve, reduces inflammation in the body. And dark leafy greens, like you may not like them, but dandelion greens, which are kind of bitter, are really good for the gut.
What did you say?
So not Brussels sprouts.
Not Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
Brussels sprouts may make you kind of gassy.
Well, so does the sauerkraut. Gosh, get out of bed. My goodness. Okay.
What about those probiotic smoothie things then? Those are a good way to help that out. I mean, an easy way.
You can even take, like I said, a probiotic supplement, especially one that is classified as a psychobiotic, which has beneficial effects on brain health. I think that's going to be a new rising category in the probiotic market.
And I think that for some people it's like all or nothing, right? So you're not saying all or nothing. It's in moderation for everything to kind of get.
It's all a balance. So you have to think about the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
You want to be good 80% of the time And then you want to be able to splurge once in a while, 20%, but you don't want it to be the reverse where 80% of the time you're taking in all the bad stuff and you're only getting 20% of the good stuff.
And can we just clarify that these foods are not causing mental health issues, correct? I mean, they're just making them worse if you have.
What the meta-analysis, they looked at 59 studies. What they found was that there was a trend with people with depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, that there was an underlying inflammation, and it was linked to the gut, and there was actually a more of a preponderance of a bacteria that sounds like a Disney villain. It was called Ergothella. And when people had more of this bacteria, they had more inflammation in the system. So what it's highlighting is that the root cause potentially for a lot of these mental health issues is inflammation, and the inflammation is stemming from the
but
gut.
can it also be the reverse too, right? That your mental health, because I always thought that my anxieties, and I've been very open to the fact that I have high anxieties and I try to treat it, that could also upset your stomach, right? So you know, and I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, my stomach's in terrible condition today. And I'm like, oh, but it's also because I'm in just high stress.
Definitely, and what I teach is that the connection between the gut and the brain is the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is like a telephone wire that lets your gut and the brain speak to each other. But the fact is that there are more fibers pointing up from the gut to the brain than there are from the brain down to the gut. So the gut is speaking more to the brain than the brain to the gut, but it is bidirectional, like you said, and it's one of those things like chicken or the egg. If you're depressed, what types of foods are you going to eat? If you're anxious, what are you going to crave? You might crave some sugar. You might crave comfort foods. So then it becomes this little vicious cycle.
My goodness. This is fascinating. We could talk to you all day, but we're out of time. Dr. Vincent Pedre, thanks so much for this eye-opening conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.